The views expressed by the host of this podcast are not opinion-based or for entertainment purposes. They are actually facts and truth, no matter if other people like it or not. It is the Michigan sports truth, and nothing can ever stop it from being correct.
Happy Independence Day, Detroit sports fanatics, and welcome to another edition. Welcome to an Independence Day special, episode 218 of the Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker, the show that reveals the facts instead of just being lazy and honest with lazy opinions. I'm Taylor Phillips, live from my basement apartment office in the northern outskirts of McBain, Michigan. And with me on Facebook Messenger audio from the state of Georgia, as always, is my co-host Ed Smith. You can follow him on Twitter at EdSmith313 and add him on Facebook as Edward Lawrence Smith, but he goes by Ed Smith, as always. Thanks so much for being on here with me again. How are you?
Doing quite well, Taylor. And by the way, before we start anything, happy 4th of July to you as well. Happy 4th of July to everybody that's listening
live.
Thank you.
Same to you.
Archive this very soon. Thank you as well, Taylor. It's, I guess you could say, that unofficial holiday. It seems like for baseball, it seems like baseball has multiple varieties of those this year, whether it be Father's Day, 4th of July, Memorial Day. Some of those days seem to be tailor-made just for baseball itself. So it's another chance for them to showcase how, why a lot of people consider baseball America's pastime by being festive, and, patriotic as possible, as well as looking snazzy and nice-looking merchandise and uniforms. But baseball has a great connection with this holiday, in my view, the same way that football does with Thanksgiving, or basketball even does with Christmas. But we'll get to baseball and what our Tigers have done very soon. I was quite impressed with what they've done this past week. But unfortunately, we got to get the bad stuff out the way. So, Taylor, I think we have no choice but to let the public know how much of a horrific job the Red Wings have done so far.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, what can we say? Ken Holland still never addresses the defense. Ken Holland just on the first day of free agency re-signs defenseman Alexey Marchenko to a 2-year, $2.9 million contract just to seal up the defense part, the defense chunk of the roster, and before that, he re-signs Darren Helm to a 5-year, $19.25 million deal. And then that was before the first day. And then fast forwarding back to the first day of free agency, Ken Holland spends way too much money again by signing center Frans Nielsen from the New York Islanders to a 6-year, $31.5 million deal.
Are you out of your mind?
Tomas Vanek, a forward from the Minnesota Wild, to a 1-year, $2.6 million deal.
Stupid fool.
And 13-year-old veteran center Steve Ott to a 1-year, $800,000 deal.
When were you so soft?
So that's actually the entire list after 3 days. After 3 days, the first 3 days of free agency in 2016, this NHL offseason. As you can see, to indicate, Ken Holland still has not signed a new defenseman. He just, as of right now, he decides to keep all the defensemen that he has after releasing Kyle Quincy and Brad Richards. Quincy, a defenseman, once with us, mind you. He decides to keep Alexey Marchenko, Nicholas Kronwall, Jonathan Erickson, because they're under contract with no trade clauses and whatever.
Big contrasts that are going to look more like albatrosses each and every single game of the remainder of their contracts for this season and seasons to come, by the way.
And Brendan Smith, Mike Green, and Danny DeKeyser. Just the same old defenseman.
Same old crap, basically.
Yeah. What I want to say is this. Ken Holland once again spends way too much money on forwards that just aren't that good and doesn't address the team's primary issue, which is their defense. The Illiches are... the Illiches, Mike and Marian Illich, Chris and Denise Illich, they are using the 4 Stanley Cups, the history of the 4 Stanley Cups that the Red Wings had won in our lifetime, 1997, 1998, 2002, and 2008, as a virus-type excuse for keeping Ken Holland in their front office.
It's like a Jedi mind trick of sorts, like, you know, where you flash the allure of the 4 cups and the 11 overall in franchise history, and you know, you use the oh, we're like the Yankees of American hockey, or any of that sort,
and
to cover for the fact that
trusting
go ahead,
him in
sorry.
And trusting him in the process. Continue.
Yeah, it's covering up the fact that, in my view, it's taken a long time for me to consider this, but we're seeing how in multiple sports, how some of the mightiest, most well-known franchises, they've been on a bit of a decline. In fact, they're on decline and probably on the verge, if not have already hit rock bottom. You're seeing that desperately in spades with the Lakers and the NBA. What a dreadful situation that has become. You're seeing hints and bits and pieces with that here with the Dallas Cowboys and the NFL. Only difference is they've been in better, you know, playoff contention than the Lakers have been the past few years. Not much, but it's something. And we're seeing it here with the Red Wings. Only the difference is between those two, they've always made the playoffs. But it's going on 25 straight years that the Red Wings have had an appearance in the postseason. And once again, that's part of the whole Jedi mind trick. They're using to cover up and gloss over and put lipstick on the pig of a fact that this team, this franchise, is not what it used to be. Period. It's not a premier destination for all-star caliber free agents to willingly come here unless they're out of their prime, out of shape, or near the end, or just don't have what it takes anymore, and thinking, okay, well, you know, a nice place where I can go be and earn a little bit of cash on my way out. Stealing money, essentially, if you're in if you want to call it that. I call it smart from the players, but anyway, what Ken Holland did in this opening 3 days, it was the equivalent of if you're playing golf, right, and you're in a major tournament or something, you shoot a horrific number on day 1. You shoot a slightly better, but still overall bad number on day 2 just to make the cut, and then you completely stink up the joint in rounds 3 and 4, especially round 3, you know, where it's an absolute laugher of a day and a weekend for you as you tally up your score along the way. That's what it's felt like. That's what it's been, by the way. Not just this past off season, but the past few years, past few off seasons, because Ken Holland just flat out doesn't have it anymore. It's becoming more apparent and more evident every single time we see it. Okay,
that's right.
Ken Holland is not addressing the defenseman issue because he is so adamant, or some would say stubborn, arrogant, or just flat out stupid or blind, that he thinks we got all our solutions right here in Jonathan Ericsson and Nicholas Cronwall. No, you do not. Ericsson is terrible. Cronwall is not, you know, just as bad, if not worse. Only thing he has is his heading, and even he doesn't do that right anymore. And you're paying him the amount of money that you're paying him. It's almost like it's not a robbery, but you're collaborating with the robbery at the same time. You know what I mean? You're willingly giving away money. You think it's going to a good cause. You're being scammed and suckered, yet you're the one who set it all up together in the first place, if that makes any sense. It does, but then again, what has Ken Holland? What is anything that Ken Holland has done in the past few years that has made little to any sense whatsoever?
Yeah, that all needs to stop. The only way to fix this is, like we mentioned before, that the Red Wings must miss the playoffs next year.
You got to. You've got to find a way to get this fan base to open their eyes, okay? Stop clutching their previous cups, take off the red and white colored glasses, and recognize that, listen, this is not a good situation right now. Things need to get fixed up. Otherwise, you're going to see us careen towards the bottom. We're going to beat the Lakers. But the Lakers are now this year. If we don't fix this, we're going to beat them in a few years, without question.
I mean, there's still plenty of free agent days to go, but no,
it's just look. Listen, it's pretty much the only good thing Holland has done was he found a way to get rid of Datsuk's cap space, so it wouldn't be a complete deadhead. But then again, you wonder should they have even done that, because now it gave him free money to make these kind of deals. Yeah,
I was actually gonna finish here. As I said, there's still a long time span of free agency for each team to go, and including the Red Wings, of course. They still have yet to address the defenseman, but chances are there's more doubt that the Red Wings will ever even address it at all.
No, they're going to be perfectly fine and content in their own delusional way, or at least with Holland, that, listen, with the amount of money I'm paying Eriksson and Caldwell, we have enough versatility in that instance, and then let's just use our money to shore up other players, other spots. You got like 50 billion forwards on this team, half of them aren't even that good, either now or usually or if ever. And, you have two below average defensemen on your team, and yet you have no choice but to play them practically every night, because you're paying them gobsmocks, oodles and oodles of money, basically, is what I'm trying to say here. It's a situation where you just have to close your eyes, face palm, and just shake your head every time and time and time again. And you feel like it's not going to get worse. It's not going to get worse. Oh, wait, it just got worse. You're seeing, it seems like the only positive potential silver lining signing of this could be Vanek, because, it's not costing you too much money. It's a one-year deal. So it's a contract year for him. If he plays out of his mind, okay. If not, oh, well, it's low risk, high reward kind of deal. Even to an extent with Ott, because you're paying him under $1 million and it's a one-year deal also. But still, you're signing a guy who, if you were to believe the, some portions of the St. Louis Blues fan base, was very bad at his job. In fact, there's an article listed from last April, on the SB Nation St. Louis Blues website, St. Louis Game Time. It is entitled, and I quote, 38 videos of a bad hockey player, or the sordid history of Steve Ott and the St. Louis Blues. That alone, in a nutshell, should let you know how much garbage that he was considered by some members of his own fan base back when he was playing with St. Louis. So now you want to put that on the Red Wings? I mean, even going back here to a recent article that details the signing with the Red Wings. One of the subcaptions is, finally the Blues have found a way to F Detroit. You fill in the rest of the blanks, folks.
Oh, yeah. Just like every team has screwed Detroit in trying to beat Detroit to the punch in terms of claiming free agents and making better trades and whatnot. It's just like the Wings are being outclassed by everybody, and the Red Wings are not earning it.
Time is literally passing them by as we speak, as we see, as we look.
The Red Wings are letting time pass them by, and Ken Holland does not care.
I don't care what anybody says.
I mean, it's that simple.
It's
he's arrogant, and like you said, he's stubborn and stupid. And Holland is like getting carried away with the offense. Ken Holland just wants goals and goals and goals, and he's not getting much. He's not getting very many in the last few years.
It's like inviting an alcoholic to a wine tasting event. You know it's going to go bad, but you want to see what the car wreck looks like anyway. Holland, for some inexplicable reason,
or adding extra
Frans
vodka.
Nielsen. Oh, God help you, it's Hennessy. For some reason, Holland thought a guy like Frans Nielsen, which I'm not saying anything bad about personally, but there's no way a guy like him is worth paying an annual salary of just over $5 million a year till he's almost 40? You would think that a team that has had, in this day and age of NHL, centers, or at least in this instance with the Red Wings, centers do not age well, especially when they hit their mid-30s. Even some of the best of all time have been a great testament to that. Eisenman, Fedorov, Zetterberg, recently Datsuk, and you're giving a 32-year-old center a 6-year deal with an annual average value of just over $5 million? God help you.
Oh, my God.
I was already irritated with the Drew Miller signing, okay? And then this news leaks out like holes in a dam, and I'm just feeling sick to my stomach, basically. It wasn't for the fact that, Peter Mrazek is your goalie. You have some good young talents, and Nyquist, and Anthony Ciu, and Mantha, and Larkin, and Yurko, and Tatar, and Timo Pulkkinen, and so on and so forth. I would not watch this team, because I know they are run by an inept general manager. It's like what I feel about the Red Wings, practically. Only the Red Wings can have a bit of a cover-up excuse, because they've had success. They've won things in the past throughout my life here, basically.
I mean, this is just disgraceful.
Where is your honor, dirtbag? You are an absolute disgrace.
Beyond disgraceful, and the idiot Slaps, who's going to drink up that red and white Kool-Aid because, oh my God, look at the 4 cups. Oh
the
my
octopus
God,
Kool-Aid.
and let me use that octopus. Look at that year playoff streak. That playoff streak is as irrelevant as. Oh, I'm trying to find a good analogy here. I can't think of one right now, but it's as irrelevant. It's that bad. It's. Ugh.
Even Ryan Schuling's getting carried away with his 4 Stanley Cups that the Red Wings won in our lifetime, which I admit is true.
It's true, but guess what? You're being seen now. What other fan base does that? What other fan bases likes to, count past glory? The likes of the Dallas Cowboys, the likes of Notre Dame football. What have they accomplished in recent years? And you know what? Let's be fair, because this is called the Michigan Sports Truth, after all. Many Wolverine fans, I will readily admit that. A lot of Wolverine football fans will do that too. There's no shame in admitting that. Of course, be proud of what your team. That's your team. You root for it. Be proud of the glory that they've once shared, but don't use that as a shield to think that's going to immediately help you through rough periods and whatnot. Every team, for the most part, in the history of sports, it had gone through a rough part in their history at one point or another. It's up to you as a fan base, to find a way to help them, whether it be using your voice or your wallet, to help them out through that rough transition by getting them to see their ways here, instead of, clutching to your past glory as if you were thumping a Bible, basically. So, fans, they've got to wake up and smell the coffee, is what I'm trying to say here. And recognize that, no, this is not the Red Wings of yesteryear. It's not the Red Wings of the 50s. It's not the Red Wings of the 90s. It's not even the Red Wings of the early millennium here. Good parts, but it's like finding a needle in a haystack of crap here. And we're deeply reminded of how much crappier has gotten, because a guy that I'm pretty sure fans would really love to wish to have as their GM right now, a guy by the name of Steve Eisman. I don't know if you ever heard of him or whatnot, but what he has done past few years as an executive, whether it be you could call him, help manage the Canadian ice hockey team that won the gold medal in 2010, I believe. The 2010 Olympics and then Winter Olympics, and then what he has done since taking over for the Tampa Bay, for the time being past 2 years, he's gotten them into the final 4 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The year before this, last year, he was in the final before losing to an absolute star-ridden Chicago Blackhawks team. So to do that again, get on the doorstep of the finals again this year, and by the way, doing it without your captain in Stamkos, or one of your best players in Stamkos, it's an amazing testament in and of itself. That's like, seeing what the Cavaliers did and getting to the finals last year without Kevin Love and then eventually without Kyrie Irving. Luckily they had a guy by the name of LeBron James helping out, but you could actually find some parallels between that and what the Lightning have done in this year. So the fact that now, in addition to that, they got back Stamkos, which pretty much everyone else in the whole world knew was going to happen, even those, if you thought, hey, Red Wings might get a shot at free agency. It was a formality. He was going back to Tampa. You extend the contract of Victor Hedman, a defenseman, by the way, one of the best defensemen in the world, and then you lock up a pretty darn good goalie in Andre Vasilevsky. What Eisman has done more of value in 3 moves than what Ken Holland has done in 3 years, at least, bare minimum. And remember, he could have been the GM for the Red Wings right now if Holland didn't be such a stubborn, asinine, selfish man. And instead of accepting a promotion where he would oversee things,
exactly,
in certain instances, but Eisman will be the GM. He says, no, I want to be where I'm at. And of course, the Ilitch family let Stevie Y walk to Tampa, and I guarantee you they've regretted that. They won't say it publicly because they don't want to hurt Ken's feelings. I'm pretty sure Ken and Mr. I are tight like that, but I'm pretty sure they're kicking themselves in the behind day after day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year now, it's going to be, it seems, that they let this slip between their fingers. And you know what? They got no one else to blame but themselves.
Yeah, and it's just baffling.
When did you become so politically correct?
I mean, Ken Holland has 2 years left in his contract, and we're probably going to see more of the same unless Ken Holland is fired earlier. His contract is terminated and whatnot. I think you have to wonder if the Ilitch family is losing their patience. Otherwise, or are they still trusting Ken Holland, led by Mike, the head owner of the Tigers and Red Wings and Little Caesars? Mike Ilitch still just wants more offense, and he's like 88. He's got dementia.
I'm absolutely sure Mike Ilitch has better leeway and hope and optimism in Ken Holland than might say his son will, Chris Ilitch here. I don't know what Mary and Denise think, but I think Chris is the polar opposite of Mike, of how he wants the team, the Red Wings want to be ran. Which is kind of ironic because, you can kind of say the same thing of how fans feel is going on in some instances behind the scenes with the Tigers. You're seeing, because remember a few years back where Chris Ilitch was basically was essentially the guy behind in terms of helping get Doug Fister out of here, trading away Doug Fister. Just like that for some peanuts and some chips. And by the way, one of those went stale. So it's kind of interesting point of view to see how that's kind of working in reverse, where some folks want Chris Ilitch to take control of the Wings. So it was just But back to the topic at hand, it's. I think as long as Mike Ilitch is still alive, as long as he's living, he's going to have the final say so of what's going to happen, what's going on here, who he wants, how he wants his teams ran by his front office, and stuff like that. It reminds me of what we're seeing in the WWE, with the McMahon family. Vince, as old as he is, he's still the head honcho. And until he breathes his last breath, what he says goes.
Yeah, I mean, well, think about this. Is Mike Ilitch as crazy as Vince McMahon?
Well, no one is as crazy as Vince McMahon, so I don't think that's actually a fair question to ask. But you can make parallels and comparisons to how both men want, their prized treasure, their valued item being ran according to plan, and how they want to be in control in some instances. Vince is just a spiritual maniac, control freak, frankly, anybody else on the planet Earth. So, Mike Gill is just a mini bubble of what the absolute, all-around big picture that is Vince McMahon.
And in case our listeners don't know who Ryan Schilling is, he used to be the play-by-play voice of my Central Michigan Chippewas for 2 years, from 2008 to 2010, and then he became the play-by-play voice of the Billings Mustangs, one of the minor league affiliates of the Cincinnati Reds, and then he became a talk show on 107.3 WBBL FM in Grand Rapids, like at some point in like 2014 with Ray Bentley, the Sports Brothers, Schilling and Bentley, and then Ryan Schilling stuck around until a bit late in 2015, like in August, when he moved to Lansing and joined the Team 92.1 FM WQTX and hosted his own show, The Schilling Report, through now. I would recommend that all of you download the mobile app, the Team 92.1 FM, or stream online, the team92.1fm.com. Or if you're in the Lansing area, tune in from weekdays from 1 to 3 every weekday, Monday through Friday, to the Schilling Report. He's got Mondays with Moss with him, Jeff Moss. Follow Jeff Moss at Jeff Moss DSR on Twitter. Speaking of Jeff Moss wrote such an excellent and outstanding article. The nightmare on July 1st continues in Detroit. It explains every single detail of the signings not addressing the defensive issues for the Red Wings and whatnot. It's all there and legit, as always.
Excellent takedown coverage from Moss, as always.
Yeah, safe to say, unfortunately, on Monday, this upcoming Independence Day Monday, nobody will be on the Team 92.1 FM. It'll be the best of the Schilling Report, and then the best of the Drive with Jack, and then on Tuesday, everybody gets back to work. The Ryan Schilling's back on the air, so is Jack Ebling. But most importantly, Ryan Schilling will have a special Tuesday edition of Mondays with Moss, somewhere around a little after 1:30 or something like that, or sometime around 1:40. But tune in early for every edition of Mondays with Moss. Before we segue to the Tigers here, I want to announce that this podcast is now looking for local sponsors from not only from around my area in the cities of Cadillac, Lake City, and McBain and whatnot, Houghton Lake. They are searching for sponsors who are in the format of sports from around this state, whether it be Dunham Sports and MC Sports, the Pines Bowling and Bar, and Pizza in Cadillac, or the Grand Traverse Pie Company in Lansing, or Center, some sport facility or business in Traverse City, or even Grand Rapids or Kalamazoo, or even Flint even down in Detroit, anywhere in the state, we are looking for sponsors in the format of sports. Any sport format sponsor. It is $25 a week. My assigned costs. And it's a week because it's a weekly podcast with me and Ed Smith. So with that in mind, let's continue on here.
That one is long gone.
Very wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So with that in mind, the Tigers easily sweep the Miami Marlins, and then they go to Tampa, to St. Petersburg, and play the Tampa Bay Rays in a 4-game series. And by the way, that second game against the Marlins, the Tigers whooped them 10-3. In game one, the Tigers fall behind 5-0 early with Jordan Zimmerman on the mound. Let's talk a little bit about Jordan Zimmerman, how he has struggled the last 2 games.
It's been a bit of a puzzle. You know, it's he went from being the team's perennial, okay, let's load him, let him be our horse for our starting rotation until the other guys get their act together, to now he's becoming Mr. Inconsistent. That's troubling to see because, you know, did pay a guy a good amount of money this past off season to bring him here. You know, I had some very good years in Washington with the Nationals, part of a loading pitching staff with the likes of Stephen Strasburg, our own Max Scherzer, and of course our own Doug Fister. Now he's here. He's given a chance to be, you know, have more leeway to be the man, so to speak. You know, even if he is sharing a rotation, being shared in rotation with Justin Verlander, had a good month and a half, I would say. But recently, you know, he's just something might be off. I don't know what it is, but something's off. You know, he got hit again, hammered again. Like you said, giving up 5 runs or so, what it was in that last game, in his last outing against Tampa. Luckily, he got bailed out in a sense because, you know, I was able to catch when, you know, to help set things up, what I saw in that 9th inning. I got a notification on my phone. I got my phone set up with Twitter notifications up the wazoo. One of them is the Tigers because, you know, I always want to follow my sports teams around. Then some of the fact, okay, we're trailing going into the 9th, 7-2. Okay, oh boy, this is never a wasted opportunity. And then it says, okay, we got runners on the corner, nobody out. I'm like, okay, might be interesting here. So
because Cameron Maben and Miguel Cabrera hit back-to-back singles to start off the 9th.
Yeah, that's what started things off here. And it just kept getting single after single after single after single. You know, they batted around basically. You know,
then Stephen Moyer with the RBI sacrifice fly. Jared Saltalamacchia with an RBI single, and then another single loaded the bases for Ian. Ian Kinsler, for Ian Kinsler,
it was 1 out, and then after a few pitches, Kinsler was able to draw a 1-out bases loaded walk, which of course brought in the tying run. Ramirez, the reliever for Tampa, he could not find the plate if at all during that time. He had about close to 20 pitches. Heavy majority of those pitches didn't even come close to plate. They were balls, nothing but balls. And like some of the few strikes he threw, they got hit. He drew a 1-out walk. I should say he walked Kinsler to bring in the tying run, and then I think was it the first pitch or so, Upton drives one over the head of the left fielder, and you know, that clears the bases, and suddenly, holy crap, we're up 10-7. And that's all what they needed because, they didn't score again, but, you know, Francisco Rodriguez came in, nailed it shut using, 7 pitches, I believe? You know, at least single digits in terms of his pitch count, so that kept him fresh for possible future uses sometime this week, maybe. and the Tigers got it done. They found a way to get it done. And we saw the offense explode even more so with 13 more runs in the next two games. The second, of course, was a little bit tired, but, there's no need to worry when you have Justin Verlander doing a vintage JV outing the way he did, allowing only 1 or 2 runs, I believe, against Tampa in a 3-2 win. But second game of the series, the bats explode again for 10 runs to get a 10-2 victory. And in this previous game, yesterday, I guess you could say now, the Tigers, they kind of messed up an opportunity, spoil a chance by leaving men on base early in the game. But Mike Pelfrey does an incredible job in terms of spotting his fastball, getting out of jams and whatnot. When it's all said and done, I think he was he the person that gave it the lone run? I believe it might have been someone else, but still, terrific outing from Pelfrey today. After giving up 12 hits in his last outing, he only gives up 6 in this outing. So
just 6.
Vast improvement from Pelfrey in that regard. And in the offense, they just did what they had to do. By the way, before we get to the offense, though, kudos to Bruce Rondon coming in, bases loaded jam, 7th inning, I believe, bottom of the 7th. 1-0. The Rays are already up 1-0. This is potentially, in my view, this was the biggest at-bat of the game. 2 outs, I believe, I don't know what it was, but 2 outs, bases are loaded. Instead of holding under pressure and letting the game get out of hand, he's able to get a pop-up on a good hard fastball and gets out of the inning unscathed. That was the turning point of the game right then there, because in the 8th inning, Tigers explode for 3 runs. Or actually, lit a spark for 3 runs, I should say. Then at the top of the 9th inning, Ian Kinsler puts the nail puts the dagger in the heart with a 2-run shot. By the way, career home run number 200 from Mr. Kinsler. So good job, Kinsey, on that one. From my view, is even at his age, he's still, in my opinion, one of the best leadoff men in all baseball. I think it's been proven the way he's performed this year, especially. But overall, during his tenure with Detroit, and what we saw, of course, for a long time with the Rangers. Once again, I will give kudos to Dave Dombrowski on this in one of his last good acts, if not the last good thing that he did as Tigers general manager. Well, that in the fire sale last year, which was finding a way to sucker the Texas Rangers into trading away Ian Kinsler for the albatross of Prince Fielder's contract. It's paying good dividends for the Tigers, in my view. It's going to continue to pay good dividends as long as Kinsler stays healthy. And, don't look now, but what we're seeing, obviously the Tigers still have some catching up to do in terms of the AL Central standings. They are still 5.5 games back of the division-leading Cleveland Indians. But get this, due to the fact that the Royals lost today, was it 71-72, I believe, to the Phillies, they are now, the Tigers are in sole possession of second place in the AL Central. Kansas City is now in sole possession of third place, 6 games back. Chicago in 4th with 7.5, and then Minnesota at the absolute pitfall bottom at 22 back in last place. But with Cleveland now, they've lost 2.5 games. They were coming off an impressive, 11 or so game win streak.
14.
Now they lost their last 2.
14 game win streak.
My God. See, there you go. They were, I guess, some of that magic is wearing off from what the Cavs did in terms of bringing a title to Cleveland. Maybe it's maybe the Indians are starting to come back to earth a little bit, because now they've lost their last 2 games. They'll have an impressive 17 games over 500 record.
That last game that Cleveland lost was a 17-1 demanding destruction of a defeat.
They got destroyed. They got crushed by the Toronto Blue Jays. Absolutely embarrassing. And it's kind of, I'm not sure if that's the type of game you wanted to have leading into the start of a crucial series. Yes, it's July, but, I consider this a crucial series because Detroit, they're 5.5 games back. They're going to be going on the road, and they're facing this Cleveland team for a big 3-game set, which could determine how the standings of this division will look even at the end of the week, let alone at the end of, first half of the season when everybody goes on All-Star break. So, very vital set of games coming up here as the Tigers wrap up the first half of the season. 3-game set here with Cleveland and the 4-game set against the Blue Jays. But they don't have much of an opportunity to rest after that, because right after first series back from the All-Star break, did get tangled with the Royals again. So that's another potential bloodbath battle, which would help shake up the standings, so to speak, in the AL Central. But still, terrific job by what the boys did in this last week. Six straight wins, winning 2 consecutive series, both in sweeps, by the way. Sweeping a 2-game set against the Marlins, and then a 4-game sweep of the Rays, which, by the way, conveniently enough, is this now their 6th consecutive game that they've won in Tampa at Tropicana? I believe I was reading, that was one of those stats that I read about the other day during their streak. That is, this is their 4th game, so now I think they've won 2 games in a row after that. So that would make it, I believe, 6 straight wins for the Tigers playing at the Trop. So maybe they like playing. They're starting to like playing at that place after all.
I know, especially because the Rays are in last place in the American League East. What has happened to them?
Well, that helps too. That helps too. I mean, when you got a team that's in perpetual free fall mode, you got to pounce on them to help, and in essence, help spark your drive to having a great rest of the season as well. So, if you're the Tigers and if you're Tigers fans, you'll take it.
Let's preview this Cleveland series here. The Tigers have momentum and the Indians don't. The Indians lost 2 straight. The Tigers have won 6 straight. First game on Monday on Independence Night at 7:10. Daniel Norris 1-0, 4.09 ERA. He got his first major league win, or first win of the season, if not of the career. 1-0, 4.09 ERA. He's dueling with Danny Salazar, who is 10-3 with a 2.22 ERA. Salazar is a dangerous pitcher. He owned the Tigers his last feud with them at Comerica Park. And then Jordan Zimmerman against Carlos Carrasco. Zimmerman got drilled 2 Friday nights ago at home when he gave up 7 runs. And then after the 5 that he gave up in Tampa, he's got a 3.95 ERA with his 9-4 record. Carrasco 4-2, 2.56 record. He got another win as well. And then Michael Fulmer, I can't remember the last time he faced the Indians on the mound in the majors. Which is only this year. He's coming off of a good performance, despite the performance before with his dizziness and whatnot. Michael Fulmer Michael Fulmer was 7 innings pitched. He finally got his 8th win of the season. He still has a 2.17 ERA, which is pretty damn good. Facing Josh Tomlin, 9-1 with a 3.21 ERA. Not quite great of an ERA, but still pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, minor footnote, kind of sucks that one of the wins that the Tigers just used to let their offense explode had to have been on poor Drew Smiley, former pitcher for us. I like Drew, so it was kind of a bit of a bittersweet for me to see that.
He got the hell beat out of him.
Yeah, poor Drew.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this Indian series here. You're starting right off the bat. What maybe their best guy, not named Cluey, for Cleveland. Salazar go up against Norris. Prime time, national TV on ESPN, Independence Night, as you mentioned. Salazar has a tremendous fastball, by the way. That is one of his, that is his best pitch. Uses to get guys out with ease. You have to wonder, that's the one pitch you have to look at. How can Salazar controls his fastball will dictate how that game goes. Zimmerman, you hope he has a bounce back in a big way. It's kind of not looking so good. He's given up at least 5 runs or so, or at least 3 or at least 4 runs, in his past 2 outings or something like that. You hope he's able to shake off the cobwebs. And then Fulmer, even though he's putting up a great case, in my view, he is the runaway front runner for Rookie of the Year. You're going against a guy that's 9-1. So I know the win stat doesn't factor as much in today's day and age with sabermetrics. I mean, case in point, Bruce Rondon got the win instead of Mike Pelfrey. But still, the record speaks to who you are and how you perform to a degree, I believe. So Fulmer and the Tigers and the stuff, they're going to have their hands full in that regard. This whole series, it could easily be another testament to why. And what we've seen in past examples, I think one big reason why Cleveland is able to dominate Detroit the way they have had for the most part has been their pitching. So you're going to have two tough tests to bookend this with Salazar and Tomlin, and then, a not quite as easy test in the middle between Carrasco and Zimmerman. So, like I said, between this and what you do with this series alone could help shake up how the rest of the AL Central Division standings might look at the end of this very week before we even hit the All-Star break.
I think it'll be a test for both Daniel Norris and Michael Fulmer each Monday and Wednesday.
Especially Norris.
Yeah. Oh, well, especially both. It's like a tie. Michael Fulmer and Josh Tomlin at 12-10, by the way.
You call it 1 or 1A in terms of who has the tougher test. You can't go wrong with either answer.
Yeah, that leads to a good question. Which pitcher will face a bigger test in that series, Michael Fulmer or Daniel Norris?
I say Norris because, like I said, he's just started getting back on the right track, going through the health issues that he dealt with throughout last year and in the off season. Now he's getting a chance, prime time, 7 o'clock start. Well, Eastern time, 6 in Cleveland, but it's on Independence Day on ESPN, and you're facing one of the best pitchers in the league today, or this year at the very least, with Salazar. And he's still a young pitcher. This could be a testament to see how he could do when the spotlight is on him. Fulmer's not as much because, like I said, it's a day game. It's a getaway game. Game at the end of the end of the series. So, whereas this is the start of the series, you want to make a statement, make a point, prove yourself right away, immediately, make yourself be known immediately. So, I would say more pressure is on Norris in that regard.
The Indians are 9-0 against the Tigers this season. The Tigers looking to finally beat the Cleveland Indians in at least one game somehow this season. Moving on to the Blue Jays series, Justin Verlander pitches in Game 1 against a pitcher to be determined as we speak, 7:07 p.m. at Rogers Center on FSD. And then I believe Mike Pelfrey, who got bailed out earlier Sunday, will take on J.A. Happ, who is 11-3 with a 3.54 ERA. Then it'll be Daniel Norris on Saturday, and then Jordan Zimmerman on Sunday at 1:07. Saturday game is at 7:07, by the way. Wait.
Yeah, Norris will be going.
The Saturday game is at 1:07, and then the Sunday game is at 1:07.
Saturday at 1:07.
Yep.
Saturday and Sunday at 1:07 starts. The pitching matchups for games 3 and 4 of that are Norris versus Aaron Sanchez. Sanchez with an 81 record. And Zimmerman, of course, like you mentioned, the last one of the series, last one for All-Star break. Zimmerman v. knuckleballer R.A. Dickey.
Oh, yeah. Got to watch out for that knuckleball. Tigers are going to have to be really extra patient with that kind of pitch.
But it's been a little bit better so far. I mean, obviously that's the trickiest pitch in the world to hit. But he hasn't had quite a bit of a good year so far this year. He's 5-9. He has a whip of with a ERA of over 4, a whip of over 1.3. He has given up at least 3 runs his past 2 starts. But he hasn't been shellacked so much as to say. But he has given up 4 runs at least 3 times. So that's not exactly a promising thing to see with one of your value pitchers, considering the amount of money Toronto spent on Dickey. I mean, for goodness sakes, he's making $12 million. He made $12 million last year alone. So you expect better out of a pitcher that you're paying that amount of money. So it could be a case of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, whenever it gets to that point, to that game. Although it should be worth noting, the last time that Dickey faced the Tigers, it was in June on the 8th at Comerica. Dickey had an okay outing, I would say. 5 and a third inning, 9 hits, yet he only gave up 2 runs with 1 lone strikeout. So again, it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, it seems, with Dickey. So keep your eye out on that one to see if the Tigers can find a way to close out the first half with a good note, on a strong note, on a good note with a win.
Yeah, that series will be jam-packed in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I can't wait for that one, and neither can I wait for that Tigers-Indians series.
Yeah.
Miranda.
Before we move on to the next, excuse me. Before we move on to the next topic, you mentioned something of jam-packed. Another thing that's jam-packed or log-jammed, I should say.
Miranda McCoy's Indians, by the way. Pardon the interruption, but continue.
I was going to say, speaking of log jammed or the standings for the AL wild card, in the case that the Tigers somehow probably won't get the AL Central title, they are making a good good push for their Plan B to come to fruition, which is be good contenders in the wild card spot. As of now, especially based on what happened today with Kansas City, not only are they ahead of them in the AL Central standings, but they are now in sole possession of the second or tied with another team. I take that back, but they are ahead of Kansas City in terms of that second wild card spot. They are tied with I want to say, is it Toronto? I believe it's Toronto. Toronto has 1 more win than Detroit, yet they have 1 more loss, so that kind of balances out the win percentage, so to speak. So the standings I looked at had Detroit slightly ahead of Toronto in terms of that tiebreaker for the second wild card spot, and the whole thing is a mess. I mean, the Tigers are not that far out of that first wild card spot, the spot that saves you from playing that play-in game for the second wild card spot. They only trailed the Red Sox by a half game.
You got it.
You see teams. You're seeing the White Sox and the Yankees even. They still have a standing shot. The Yanks, I believe, are 3.5 back. White Sox 2 or 2.5 back. And it's just an absolute log jam just for that second wild card spot.
Can I add one thing here? That reminds me of an interview between Jack Ebling and Lynn Henning.
Yes, Lynn G.
Yeah. Jack Ebling and Lynn Henning have been friends for over 40 years, as Ryan Schuling told me in a comment in that thread to the link in the DSR group. The link to that podcast interview on the drive with Jack Ebling on the Team 92.1 FM WQTX. I found it on Spreaker, but I listened to it live, and I was thinking when I heard Jack Ebling asked Lynn Henning if trading Miguel Cabrera was a possibility, and Lynn Henning said yes. Lynn Henning was trying to make a point that they got to get rid of all the veterans, including Cabrera and Kinsler and Maven. Maven's not a rookie anymore, but he's not quite a veteran. As I may correct myself a little bit, go a little more technical on that one, but
he's basically like a mid-card guy.
Yeah, but Lynn Henning wants the Tigers' farm system to expand. I don't know why. The Tigers are getting more greedy or something like that, but
I don't know what would possess a guy to say something so idiotic. Would you know the MO the drive behind in my view, the drive that's keeping Mike Ilitch alive at this moment is trying to bring a World Series to the city of Detroit. First one since '84. So why would you, in a way, want to try to basically blow up any chances of ending this 3+ decade, going on 4, and it's almost soon, drought, by not only giving away your best hitter, but also giving away other value components and players that can help get you to that mountaintop, so to speak. Because you want to focus on building your farm system, even though you had a lot of years beforehand to try and do that? No. The amount of money that you've had, that you spent it on, the players that you got, you are in win-now mode. This is not, I don't know, let's try to invest in the future. No, it's win now or bust. And to even suggest it, have an inkling in your mind of trying to think, oh yeah, this is possible, should disqualify you for any type of coverage or whatever the case may be, or journalistic integrity, or smarts for that matter. But then again, this is from the same man who thought Jabba Chamberlain. Yes, that Jabba Chamberlain was worth $50 million.
Same guy. Yeah, and the Tigers unconditionally released him. At that.
Yeah, that wasn't the same Glenn Henning who thought, the Tigers were still in a rebuild mode the year before they went to the World Series.
And then the same guy who in that same interview thought that the Tigers were done. I thought the Tigers were not going to win the wild card. But guess what? Lynn Henning's not even doing any damn ounce of homework here. He's not even looking at the standings. He's not looking at a damn thing. He needs to retire.
Put him out the pasture, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Lynn Henning is now taking the Tigers for granted so soon. He's jumping ship. When he doesn't realize that the Tigers are still in it. Very close.
Insane. You would think he's already acting like, how we feel with the Red Wings now. He's trying to do that with the Tigers. The thing is, the Tigers haven't won it all. Haven't won it yet. The Red Wings have won, so they can kind of have that leeway. The Tigers don't. They're in win now mode. They've been in win now mode since 1984.
Yeah, the year I was born. You get that, Lynn Henning? You old stupid windbag. Jack Ebeling and Lynn Henning can continue interviewing each other on the same show as many times as they want, but we know how Lynn Henning's going to continue to be stupid.
We have no problem with him. We have no problem with him expressing his opinion. Right? It's his First Amendment right. It's his privilege.
That's
but be prepared. If you state something stupid, you're going to get called out on it.
Yeah, and I was the only one to call him out because I delivered the Michigan sports truth. We do actually, but I'm the head host here. Yeah. Sorry, Ed, but yeah, but yeah, okay. We are a team.
I don't know how to take that. Was that a subtle pot shot, backhand compliment? That's okay. I don't take it too seriously. You know how we jest amongst Jeffrey Taylor, so I get it.
Yep, right. That's true. Well, we finally got that out of the way. By the way, before,
all right, yes.
before we,
I'm sorry.
Before we get to the Pistons here, I almost forgot to give out the local sponsors that I'm looking for. My email address, taylorgatorphillips14@yahoo.com. That's taylorgatorphillips with 2 L's, 14, the number 14, @yahoo.com. Again, it's looking for local sponsors in the format of sports in the state, whether it's Cadillac, Traverse City, Lansing, Grand Rapids, Detroit, Alpena, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Marquette, Escanaba, wherever in the state. I don't even care if it's close to Wisconsin or Indiana or Ohio or even Canada, Ontario. just please find me one. That's all I ever ask. Just $25 a week.
Give
yeah.
us a chance. Give us a chance.
Yes. # give us a chance.
Last year was give Divas a chance. This year it's just give us a chance.
Oh yeah. I might have to go bigger on with that on Twitter than just on Facebook. But now it's time to hit the hardwood, the court.
Left sideline, free, and he answers.
We go back to the free agency land, this time in the NBA, the National Basketball Association. The Pistons, starting off, they signed their star center, Andre Drummond, to their maximum contract of 5 years worth $130 million.
Oh, man.
Oh yeah. There are pros and cons with it. The pros are he can rebound. He can rebound. The pros are he can rebound, and he can score in the paint, and he can swat shots defensively, whether it's in the paint or out. But the only con, which is most important, is his free throw shooting. And he pointed out, he's willing to shoot underhanded at the free throw line, and Stan Van Gundy is considering working on it.
Well, if it does, it shows a sense of, in some degree, maturity on his part to recognize, okay, I know a big aspect of my game that is essential to helping the team out. It stinks. It sucks. What can I do to fix it? How can I improve it? If I gotta try this, okay, this is all for helping out, not just myself. Yeah, first, that's a huge part, but most importantly, and first and foremost, helping out my team. Now, like you mentioned, back to the pros that you mentioned with this signing, in my view, well, I guess a lot of people others view, one of the best young big men, if not the best young big man in the league. One of the best big men in the league overall. One of the best rebounders. I think it's between him and Tristan Thompson, two extremely most talented offensive rebounders, not just in Eastern Conference, but in the whole league. Drummond has that good, gives you tremendous presence at the paint, in the paint, at the rim. He's a guy, and he's still young. You can still center the whole team around him, which is, I think, what Stan Van Gundy's trying to do. He did that in a sense with Dwight Howard. Took him to the NBA Finals even in 2009. So I think he's trying to replicate what he did with Howard here with Drummond in some sense of degree. I guess some of the cons, another con you can mention, despite, whether it be a free throw shooting or whatever the case, I think it's a bit, I understand the cap's being raised, but a little bit of an overpay, but I get it. He's your centerpiece. You don't even want to entertain the thought of him going to another team, so you lock him up, lock, stock, and barrel, and you have him under your control. I get that. I hope it's not too much of an overpay, but I guess, the way the cap's rising at some point, we're going to look at this as saying, how we're looking at it now with the Reggie Jackson deal. A lot of people thought that was absurd at the time. It's not looking like that now. I think we're going to see the same thing for Drummond's deal. I mean, at least it won't be like a ridiculous thing like a Mike Conley. $153 million over 5 years? I believe that's the highest contract in NBA history for Mike Conley to go back to Memphis. Okay? And he's the guy. That's nothing bad against Mike Conley. I'm sure he's a good player, even better person. But you're giving a dude that has never played in a single All-Star game in his career an annual $30 million plus salary. You mean he's making more than the likes of LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, making the likes, well, I don't know. Yeah, he may be making more than what Kevin Durant is going to be making, whatever team he signs with. So he's going to be making more money than the likes of Dwayne Wade, Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony. You mean to tell me he's going to make him more money than the likes of Steph freaking Curry? Pure insanity, but the way this cap is rising, it won't be seen as too much of a shocker as it is now, but you're still looking at, like, what in God's name are we doing with this? But hey, that's the name of the game in today's NBA. That $24 billion TV contract is paying huge dividends already now as we speak. There were other moves that the Pistons did make. This wasn't their one and only move. There were talks of them saying, hey, they're trying to get in the running for Al Horford. Unfortunately, that didn't go quite as through. Horford and wound up signing with the Celtics for a 4-year, $113 million a year. That's going to pay him about close to $30 million a year, about 28 or so per season. It makes Boston obviously a much better team than what they were last year. Possible contender for one of the top 4 teams in the league. I mean, in the East for sure. Whereas with the Pistons, okay, we still need to find a way. At the very least, we got to improve our bench. We got to improve our depth. We had very little to none of that at all at the tail end of last year, and then the playoffs against Cleveland. How to improve on that? Well, first and foremost, we signed a backup point guard, and you do that with signing Ishmael Smith, who did play with the Sixers, last played for the Sixers. He was an undrafted free agent in 2010. Played at Wake Forest. He's, in my view, when you basically got him at a steal because he has a 3-year, $18 million year. So you're paying $6 million for a backup point guard. And with this cap, that's essentially a steal. And if he, shows, pays dividends with his play, it's going to be seen as more of a steal. The positives, I think, here for sure, you get with Smith is you get speed, you get athleticism. I think Smith could be faster than Reggie Jackson, and that's saying something. Gives you a better option with who you want to be your point guard for the second unit as opposed to what you had with Steve Blake. I like, listen, I got nothing bad personally against Steve Blake. I just don't think he was a good fit for this team. Potentially, we make it better. We're making an upgrade with Smith here. And he's only, 27? He's not that far off in age from Brandon Jennings, which, according, if you read an article on DetroitBadBoys.com, some say, it reminds you his game could resemble Brandon Jennings. It's when you look at some of the stats, it's a little bit close, but Jennings has a slightly higher assist percentage, whereas Jennings has a slightly higher true shooting percentage. But they're both close in threes and their jumpers and whatnot. So again, it would be like getting a player closer to a Brandon Jennings without actually saying Brandon Jennings, because there's a chance that Jennings might go to the Nets or some other team. So there was that. You took care of what I think was one of your big remaining needs after the draft. You need a backup point guard. You found that in Smith, and then you go out and sign, Jon Leuer, from who last played in Phoenix, I believe. And now you found yourself another stretch 4 to go along to offset in a little bit what Ellenson can bring with his play as a power forward, who I did get a chance to see a little bit in Summer League action against the Magic this past Saturday. Showed off those comparisons, I think, that some are touting as him resembling a young Kevin Love. He had a couple of threes from downtown, showed good range, got a wide open spot, took a chance, and he sunk it. So if that is a taste of what we're going to have to see for years to come in Detroit, I'm a little bit excited about that. So you got Ellenson, you got Leuer. Those are your backup 4s at the moment, while your starting 4 is Tobias Harris. I think you found yourself a good versatility at the wing spot. Marcus Morris as your starter. And I think you could rotate between either Stanley Johnson or Richie Bullock for that backup 3 spot. Johnson will be primarily the backup shooting guard, while he can rotate some small forward. And even Mike Benechet, I could be your third string. Your third string 3. if we're going to use football terminology, I guess you could say Darren Hiller being the third-string point guard on this team, which shows, again, we needed depth and versatility in rebuilding our bench. Granted, we probably won't be as good defensively with our bench. It seems like the only good defender on that second unit would be Stanley Johnson, but I think we are potentially getting a more of a chance to create more production offensively, because that was one thing that just did not help us at all, either in terms of maintaining a lead or getting close or letting deficits grow too far too quickly, where you were forced to put the starters back in the game where needed them to rest. So taking care of that. So you're looking at potentially a second unit next year that could feature Ish Smith, Stanley Johnson, Reggie Bullock, a rotation of Jon Leuer and Henry Ellenson, and Aaron Baines. So you're looking at a team that won the amount of games this year, improved on their bench in the past offseason, and also made sure to retain their star franchise player to a max contract, and still had enough money to make these other deals for not just in the offseason, but also the draft, help securing their future and whatnot. I'd say the Pistons did a pretty damn good job in the offseason.
Ish Smith,
so far at least.
Yeah, Ish Smith signed to a 3-year, $18 million contract, and Jon Leuer signed to a 4-year, $42 million contract, which is quite a wallet.
Yeah, just a little bit, but like I said, the way this cap is, it's not even in the stratosphere of ridiculousness. I mean, you're seeing Timothy Mozgov get $16 million from the Lakers. I like Mozgov, but I don't think he's worth $16 million. Mike Conley is getting $30+ million. Okay, we're going to see the likes of Evan Turner, and you're seeing Chandler Parsons make more in one contract than Michael Jordan ever did with his career earnings throughout his whole entire career. That's crazy. Michael Jordan had about, $90 million in total career earnings during his playing days. Chandler Parsons is going to get more of that, going to get that plus $4 million more with his 4-year contract. So It's just craziness is the name of the game in salary cap with the NBA. It's starting, I don't know, I guess you could say it's kind of a little bit surpassed baseball, but then again, every once in a while, baseball will show you, oh, you think you can give out ridiculous contracts? We'll show you who's still king around here. Bam, $200 million. Bam, $250. So NBA kind of has a bit of ways to go before catching up with the levels of absurdity that MLB free agency can give you sometimes.
Yeah. Considering the amount of money the Pistons have spent insurmountably, I would assume that the Pistons have their roster already set.
Just about. I mean, and they still have, in terms of cap space,
considering they have a point guard,
about $9 million saved. In terms of cap space, they have about over $9 million just about saved after these deals have been made. So if they can use this, save it, store it, and then next year, when the cap raises again for the offseason, you'll have a raised cap again, plus the $9 million that you saved this year. So we're talking at least a good bountiful of upwards to $25 million plus more. So that can definitely find you a player with max contract potential and possibilities here.
Oh yeah. So the Pistons, pending the amount of salary cap money they have left, might not even be done yet.
True, but that's true. But even if they were to stop now, I think a good portion of fans would be content and to a degree satisfied by what the Pistons did here. I would be.
Yeah, I would be too. Yeah, I think Ish Smith is a good acquisition. The Drummond max contract signing is pretty risky, but good. I would say, just at least for now. And Jon Leuer.
Yeah, it was a need. They needed to take care of that, and they did.
Yeah, Jon Leuer, pretty decent power forward acquisition, but $42 million. Wow, that's a bit much.
But like I said, people were saying that when we were giving $80 million to Reggie Jackson, and so far, not only has he backed it up with his play, what you're seeing the cap getting raised more and more and more. So right, what you said, $14 million. That's a whiff. That's like a whiff of air compared to the amounts of oxygen you have to suck in to take looking at these ridiculous contracts. For God's sake, the Memphis Grizzlies have spent, I don't know if the numbers are exactly right or on the point, but they've spent essentially, and when you factor in total amount of contract, virtually $250 million in two dudes. And guess what? It's not like we're saying, oh, we're going to take Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson in their prime, plug them in today's landscape of the modern NBA, and make them unrestricted free agents, and then they both go to the same team. No, it's Chandler Parsons and Mike Conley. Really.
Oh, yeah. Those are the two key guys that the Pistons need to keep their eyes open on. So, with that in mind, it is time for 5 questions. Are you ready, Ed Smith?
Oh, quite ready, my friend. Let them rip.
It's time for 5 questions on the Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker.
Question number 1. Will Red Wings general manager Ken Holland ever address the team's defense issues?
I will say I would choose the cynical side of myself and say no, because I think Kenny Boy is too content with the amount of money that he plugged in to number 52 and 55, Erickson and Cronwall, that he's content to just let that be and try, in his deluded and demented view, focus on improving other areas where really you don't need improvements in other areas. You got a billion forwards here. You didn't necessarily just sign a center in his early 30s to a 6-year deal. You got to use that to help in some way, shape, or form get a defenseman. I mean, I guess you could say, "Oh, we took care of that in the draft," but we might not even see one of those players for the next 3 or 4 years down the road. So, with him, it'll never be any different. No.
Next question.
Unless he's either fired or he leaves.
Right. Question number 2, will the Red Wings still trade goaltender Jimmy Howard?
I really don't know what to think of that regard. I wouldn't put it past him because I didn't think Holland would be able to trade Datsuk's salary cap space rather. So if we could find a way to get a good defenseman prospect or whatever out of this deal, then I would say yes, go for it. If not, no. I mean, because in my view, Jimmy Howard could still be seen as an okay backup goalie at this point to Mrazek. So unless you're saying, okay, we can get you a good young defenseman in return. No, don't do it.
So we have a bonus question to ask our audience. I'll ask it to you. Bonus question number 1. How would you rate the Red Wings offseason thus far from a scale of 1 to 10? I would give it either a 1 or a 2.
In terms of grade, D- and be lucky it's that. Okay, I was definitely on the verge of considering let's give it a fringe F here, but I will give kudos and say you found a way to trade Datsuk's cap space so it didn't cripple your team that much. But still, the signings and the deals that you made in the offseason were too atrocious to ignore. So I have no choice but to give them a D- in this regard, and they're lucky. They're lucky to have even that.
Yeah. Plus, they drafted a couple defensemen too, which might have to wait till later.
You're not going to see him in Detroit till like 4 or 5 years down the road. So what's the point?
I know it's. That's definitely not. That's a sign of definitely not addressing the issue, which is their defense, the defenseman department, and that's it. So in other words, as far as trading Datsuk's contract to the Coyotes, to give Ken Holland a fringe F in the offseason would be a little too hasty. So yeah, you nail it right on the head. I would call it a D- as well. So yeah, we'll just have to hope they miss the playoffs.
Next question.
Yeah, basically. Hashtag fire Holland. Hashtag fire Ken Holland.
Yeah.
Hashtag fresh start.
Yeah. Question number 3. Are the Tigers finally going to beat the Cleveland Indians for the first time this season, considering the momentum level each team has with them going into the upcoming matchup?
If they have as good a chance now, if at any point, if they're going to beat them, they might as well do it now. You would think. First game, new series, primetime special under the lights, ESPN. They've lost 2 in a row after winning 14 in a row. You've now won 6 in a row. You're, 15 games over 500 against other teams not named the Cleveland Indians. So, it's gonna be tough because, like I said, Salazar is gonna bring it with that fastball. How he controls and spots that fastball will dictate how that game will go. But I think they can win at least one of these 3 games. I know it's it's on the road, but it's not plausible. I think there's no inconceivable way that the Cleveland Indians are going to sweep every single series that they face in the Tigers this year. I refuse to believe that.
I'd have to agree there.
Next question.
Question number 4, is Andre Drummond worth the maximum contract money?
Short term, a slight edge towards no, because like I said, he's not a complete player yet. I still would like to see him get better with his free throw shooting. I would still like to see him show better footwork and movement in terms of while he has the ball in the post to get better scoring chances in the paint, show better maturity. I mean, as his age and his career progresses. So short term, lean towards no, but if he fixes those needed check boxes long term, yeah, you can put that towards a yes. Short term, no. Lean towards no. Long term, potentially yes.
Good point.
Next question.
And question number 5, is Ish Smith the point guard the Pistons are looking for?
Well, like I said, with backup point guards, you don't necessarily need offensive scoring. That's why you have your starting point guards. That's you got the likes of the Rajon Rondos, Russell Westbrooks, Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry's of the world. Whereas with your backup point guard, you just got to make sure your team stays involved and your point guard is helping the team as a whole distribute the ball better. That's one of the hallmarks of any great point guard. Yeah, you can be a great shooter, but first and foremost, you are the quarterback of that court. You have to share it, which means you control and dictate how that ball goes, call plays on the court, set things up. You are the facilitator, in essence, of that offense on that court. So, you have to have at least a semblance of that with your backup point guard. If Smith can at the very least move the ball well, as well as showcase his good speed, then over time I would say yes.
Oh yeah, definitely. We got one more bonus question coming up. Bonus question number 2. How would you rate the Pistons off-season thus far, overall?
Well, if you're going to combine, first and foremost, I want to get your thoughts on that. I want to see what you think on that one.
Well, like you said, Andre Drummond's not quite a complete player. His lack of free throw shooting has been an issue, but otherwise, and his footwork. But otherwise, he's done pretty good at getting rebounds, scoring in the paint, blocking shots, and whatnot. Ish Smith is a point guard. I signed him to a 3-year, $18 million deal. I think he might be the point guard the Pistons are looking for, unless he regresses early. And then Jon Leuer, 4 years, $42 million. Like I said, he was decent, but $42 million's a bit much. I would give the Pistons off season thus far overall a B minus or a mid-range B, because it's not quite great, but it's still good somewhat to total it up. How about you, Ed?
I see what you mean by that, but here's the thing: you got to sum up their grade by these few important things: lock up Drummond long term, replenish your bench, and I think that's basically your two. And have a good draft. You know, by all accounts, the Pistons had a widely recognized good draft. I'm pretty sure they were listed on many lists of winners and losers. They were definitely on the winner side of things more often than not. I've seen a couple of videos that shown the Pistons. Wow, they had even a great draft. I'm going to say good at least. I don't want to overrate what their young stars can do now, because we haven't even seen them play a single minute of pro basketball in their lives yet. So let's not break on the excitement too much, but still, I was very impressed by what they did in the draft. Let's not diminish that. And in terms of what they did in free agency, locking up Drummond long term, which they accomplished, and finding a backup point guard, which they accomplished, and in essence, getting more depth and helping out your bench in more ways than one, they accomplished that. You look at all those check boxes. Did they check them off? For all intents and purposes, yes. Now, I guess you could say, they didn't get Al Horford, they didn't get that big signing. Well, no, they didn't. But that's not going to be that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it comes down to, can that specific player be a good fit for this team in this city or whatever the case may be. So in terms of figuring all that, factoring all that together, I'm going to give the Pistons an A minus. If they had gotten an Al Horford or somebody like that, I would definitely have given them a solid A, potentially an A plus. But providing what they did in the draft, what they've done so far in the offseason, still have some money left to save or they can add one more player or just save it now, bundle it together with the cap next year. And like I said, those check boxes that I mentioned, they checked them off essentially one by one. I'm giving them a good A minus, like a 91 to a 93.
Wow. Oh, man. All right. Well, I think we put I think we've covered just about everything, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, we started out. We had to sort through the crap first, but we found the diamond in the end. Yep.
We finally we kept digging through a bunch of sand and muck and whatever in the swamp, and then we finally found the diamond in the rough. Whatever style you may put it. But for all the listeners and fans out there, if you want to answer those 5 questions and 2 bonus questions, just replay episode 218, the Independence Day special episode, and answer them, each one of them, in the comment bank below this episode. That's going to be all she wrote for episode 218, the Independence Day special of the Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker. Ed, thanks so much again for your help. That you did amazing and outstanding as always. Excellent work. I will talk to you again next week on episode 219, which is possibly next Sunday, like it was tonight.
Appreciate it, Taylor. Thank you for the compliment. I cherish that and admire that greatly. Thank you once again, and happy Independence Day to you. Happy Independence Day to all the listeners. Happy 4th of July, whatever case, however you want to brand it or whatever. Enjoy the baking sun, enjoy the barbecue, and at the end of the day, enjoy some baseball.
Happy Independence Day to you too, Ed. Keep up the excellent work.
Thanks, Taylor. Take care, and Fata, everybody.
And for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. If there's anything you guys want more of or less of on our podcast, please let us know. Follow us on Twitter at DT2Phillips and Ed Smith 313 on Twitter. Also, another reminder, this podcast is looking for local sponsors in the great state of Michigan. If anybody has a business that is interested in sponsoring my update, in sponsoring my podcast, the Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker, it's weekly. So I assign a pay of $25 per week. And I will mention the sponsor in between topics and segues and transitions and whatnot. Please let me know. Email me or at Taylor Phillips. Email me at taylorgatorphillips14@yahoo.com. That's Taylor Gator Phillips with 2 L's 14@yahoo.com, or message me on Facebook or Twitter. Also, add Ed Smith as a friend as Edward Lawrence Smith on Facebook, but he goes by Ed Smith, so please mind him, technically. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Bon appetit.
Happy 4th of July, everyone.